Okay. All right. Public comments. If anybody has a comment, a member of the public has a comment on an item that's not on the agenda, we'll hear at this time. Yes, ma'am. Name, please.
I'm Sherry Ale, and I'm one of the Whitefish Lake board members.
Mhm.
I have been dealing with Jay Kozlowski.
Yeah, right there.
Okay. We have put in a wish to have a county ordinance for clean boat, clean lakes, for trying to keep zebra mussels out of our lake.
Mhm.
And we've looked at Washburn County and we've looked at Burnett County. They both have ordinances. We just found out that we have been passed through the township board, and we need to contact the sheriff's department because we do have a contract with them. They will be our enforcement. And we wish to go countywide because, as you know, boats go in and out of all of our lakes. And we would really like to see it stay away from this area. It is already at Lake McKenzie Lake. So that is my plea. That's what I'm bringing to the table, and I'd like to.
Okay. I see, Jay, this is on agenda 11A. Is that right?
It is, yeah, for discussion here
Okay.
later in the
Right.
meeting.
Very good. Thank you. All right, minutes, the previous meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the June meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay. Jessica, any events or anything? Nothing? All right, nothing on the Sawyer County Treasurer as well either? No, okay. All right, land records, county surveyor.
Not a lot to report, just July and it's busy. GIS people are just normal mapping, property listing. She's been dealing with getting stuff for the border reviews for the towns and stuff. Says she's got all done except 5, so I don't know how many municipalities we got. And then that puts her behind on doing deed transfers, so she's back a month behind now. That'll catch up as the year changes. Survey crew's been working in the excellent area in the Draper. And other than that, I think this last month, I've seen real estate take off just crazy. It's the busiest I've seen since prior to 2000. It's just, dealing with people and questions, it's just blowing up. Interest rates low and stuff.
Right.
Just extremely busy.
Yeah.
That's all I got. And so we got questions.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you very much. Sawyer County Forestry, you're up. Nordic Kids.
Yeah, I have a proposal from the Berkey. They want to put up a storage shed for their Nordic Kids program at the 00 Trailhead. 10 by 24 structure. They want to build it that kind of blends in with the rest of the buildings on site there. I don't have an exact location of where they want to put this, but this is all within our commercially zoned area there. I don't know if Berkey's on today, if they have any more information about that.
Christy Mackey and Ben Popper on if you have comments from them.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't see a problem with it. I think we just have to look at if we need county permits for a structure of this size, but I think it can fit in with the overall plan there, what we have.
And when we get our MOU signed, this will be covered under that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, someone raised me.
Christy Mackey has her hand raised, so
Oh, okay.
Christy, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We would put the shed on the back corner of the parking lot, so it'd be right off the parking lot, accessible by vehicle off the parking lot. So just north of the building, kind of in the right next to between the trail and the parking lot. So we'd make it kind of as unobtrusive as possible in that location.
And this would just be storage?
Yes. Yep, it'll hold storage, it'll hold the skis year round and the equipment needed for all of the lessons, things like that.
Okay.
And I can go over where we would like to put it, where the location that makes the most sense with Greg. I can meet you up there and we could talk about that.
Okay, good. So you need approval from this committee to construct this building? Okay,
Correct.
all right. So is there a motion to approve putting this building on the Berkey Trailhead? Oh,
I'll make a motion to approve putting this on the Berkey Trailhead.
okay. All right, is there a second? Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve constructing the Nordic Kids storage shed at 00. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
What question, Mr. Chairman? Jay, wouldn't this be a zoning issue?
It would be, but this is in the town of Spider Lake, and within the town of Spider Lake, we don't have zoning jurisdiction.
Okay.
So the actual permits for the structure would actually come from the town as opposed from the county level. We initially went through the rezone process out there.
Mhm.
Whenever you do a rezone of county-owned land, that still comes to the county, so that was kind of held through the zoning department. But it's a very unique scenario in that the town of Spider Lake controls their own zoning jurisdiction, so they would fall in the township for all permits necessary.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions, discussion? Go ahead. sir.
So why do we have to, so why is it being brought to us?
So
Why
it's
do we-
county-owned land.
Because it's county-owned land, we have to vote, okay.
County forest,
Right.
county forest.
Any improvements on the Berkey trailheads or anything have to come through this committee for approval.
Okay, but they still have to go through the town for actual,
Building
Building
permit
permit.
aspects, yep. Generally, if it was anywhere else but the town of Spider Lake, it would come through the zoning and conservation department, but a little unique in this scenario in that it's in a township that we do not have zoning jurisdiction.
Thanks. All right, any more discussion? Yes, Mr. Schley.
This is inside their Berkey footprint up there on 00.
Yeah. Okay.
For lack of a better word.
Okay, any more questions, discussion? Okay. Got a motion on the floor and second. All in favor, aye?
Guy,
Opposed, nay? Motion carried. Okay, Greg, you're next again.
Yep, as I mentioned last month with the closure of the two Verso mills, several of the counties, county forest counties are passing resolutions to address this. We ran through some of our numbers and we look like we're doing about just around 10% of our total timber sale revenue is going through the Verso mill in Wisconsin Rapids. So we worked up a resolution here that kind of touches on the importance of that mill to the county forestry programs, the revenue impact to the levy here. So just looking for support for a resolution to pass on to the governor's office and the legislature to do whatever they can to fix this problem.
Okay, and then if we pass it here, this goes on to the full board for approval and then on to the governor.
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion or how about a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve this resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution on the Verso mill. Any discussion?
Yeah, so quick question. I thought you said last month that even though 10% of our sales go there, we still have, there's other options. I mean, it's not like we're losing 10% of our money. There's other mills that we can send that pulp with to. Is that?
We're fairly diversified with our markets, but what'll happen, so if that right now, our contractors are having struggles with moving the hardwood pulp, which is the primary product that goes to this mill. So there likely will be other outlets that this can trickle to. So, I mean, it's not going to be just 10% right out of the gate, but it's going to have a ripple effect through the rest of these markets. So there's only so much wood that we can put into these other markets. So it's going to have a negative impact to all of our programs if this stays closed.
So this is a resolution, just clarify that we're sending to the full board, and then it's gonna be sent to
On the state,
the state.
yep, to offer assistance for new markets, assistance for the counties for revenue reduction, things like that.
Okay.
Any more questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, Greg, you want to talk about trail fees and I can chime in, or,
I can,
okay, or you want me to chime in first?
you can go right ahead. How
All
about
right,
that?
okay. Late last year, well, let me back way up. In the past, we would charge everybody using the county forest trails, except the Berkey, $1 a head for any large events. Late last year, the board approved a temporary suspension of charging trail fees pending bringing forward a resolution that said nobody who will use the county forest trails would be charged a fee, and this is the resolution in effect saying that. Any, Greg, is that okay? You wanna?
I think you got it, yeah.
Okay, good.
Not too much more to add to it.
All right. So,
So is that just, it won't be charging the Berkey a fee?
no, I won't be charging anybody. The Berkey was exempt from the fee, I think, based on some board action in the 1980s or something like that.
86 or 83, one of those years.
Okay. So it's just for the Lions and the people like that who will get charged. Lions, Canva, people like that.
You need a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to send the resolution to not charge an event fee to the county board.
Very good.
I'll second that, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carried. All right, Greg, you want to do D and E?
Yep.
I think they're together, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much we can just go right to E, I suspect. Yeah, last month I presented chapter 100 for committee to review and offer comments. Bruce, I got your comments. I haven't made any changes yet to our draft, but I've got your stuff that we can put into there and fixes. We also have chapter 200, which is our general administration, county forest for the 15-year plan. So what I was hoping for today was a minimum to get a draft plan approved by the committee for chapter 100 that we can put out on the website for a public comment for 30 days. 200, if you had a chance to review, if you had enough time, and we could do the same thing, or we could wait till next month if you have comments or changes you wish to see there before we put out for a review for the public on that one.
I see it's listed on the agenda as discussion, so we can probably then put it on the agenda for next month for approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
For both chapters, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I encourage everybody, I mean, they're lengthy, but it's educational, and just read them over. And if you have any comments, shoot them to Greg. Okay. Then we've got a discussion item for the Berkey land lease at MOU. Greg, there's about 20 pages of legalese. So would it be possible for you to just walk us through, give us the high points next month, and then we could put it on the agenda to be approved? Or
Certainly.
okay. Unless anybody has any questions now about the issue. Yes.
Just for review and for the benefit of the new members of this board, the Berkey organization built that trailhead at the 00 facility there a few years ago, and it was done through the county because the county had the DNR grant that helped fund it. Berkey also did some fundraising and put some money into the building as well. So kind of a joint effort. It's a beautiful building. It benefits the county. But the documents that you have before you, the ground lease and the memorandum of understanding kind of clarify the responsibilities and roles of each of the organizations as far as, maintenance, what they can do there. Previously, we did a rezone of that property to rezone it as commercial to allow them to do some commercial activity like selling coffee, some other miscellaneous things, which are also contained in that ground lease and memorandum of understanding. So as you review these documents, the points of contention as that rezone went through is, what kind of commercial activity are we allowing there? So these documents define what those commercial activities can be, and those are at your discretion. If you feel that, that needs to be tightened up or loosened up, that's why these are before you, just to make sure that you're comfortable with the activity that's happening at that facility. So there's been a lot of time and working with the legal staff of the Berkey office to kind of put these things together. It's taken quite a bit of time, and it is a lot of legalese, but it hopefully clarifies our relationship with the American Porcupine Association. And Ben Pop is also on the line, I believe, if you have any questions about the activity or anything that's in these documents as well. So, these are put before you. These are drafts of documents that are hopefully in their final form. We've been working with the Berkey office quite extensively and bartering between some of the language issues, but read them over, and then next month we'll put it on the agenda to take some action, and you can make any changes at that time if you feel any are necessary.
Okay, any more discussion or comments about the MOU and land lease? If not, recreational trails? Do you have anything?
Actually, nothing on the trails itself, but on a positive note, the Visitors Convention Bureau has contracted with Discover Wisconsin to do a segment on ATVs and snowmobiles in Sawyer County. And Discover Wisconsin will be up here in a week doing the filming for the ATV section of it. So Discover Wisconsin is not free. It's a little costly, but we will be filming on the Sawyer County trails there for Discover Wisconsin here in a week.
Any questions or comments of Mr. Marote? Okay, if not, we can move on to the county forestry report.
Okay, for the month of June, we've had 11 active sales. Our activity level's been pretty decent considering all the bad news with the market right now. Sale value on file right now is a little over 3.7 million. Revenue for the month, we had 170,000. Year to date, we're at 957,000, so we're about 50,000 off of our hitting $1 million, which is about, we're on target for our halfway point here for what our budget amount is. So some of our aspen pine markets are kind of floating us through right now. So hopefully this activity keeps up and we can hopefully make our budget the way it's looking right now. Sale revenue build out right now is a little over 80,000. Sale inspections are on target for our level of activity. Tract establishment, the staff has been focusing primarily on field work right now, so they haven't been doing any write-up to finish the track. So recon, we're on target. The Good Neighbor Authority program that we're contracted with the state for the Forest Service, we just completed our year 2020 contract. We're running on their fiscal year. We're preparing the invoice for that work completed. We're setting up our year 21 contract and the supporting documents right now, so that should be put together next week, and we'll start on that project right away too. Oakville, we're really picking up a few more sites. We've got a few in Weirgore, so we're still monitoring our existing sites to see if they're spreading, and I'm assuming the state will probably do a flight at some point late next month or August or whatever. So it's just going to be just part of doing business now, dealing with the Oakville. But the sites that we've had, we've seen that we've contained them. But one windstorm the wrong time and it kind of blows all our restrictions and try to catch up with it. So a couple of projects on mountain bike trails. Reviewed and approved a rehab project at Patrick Creek. Canva is proposing to improve the trail tread on the first loop. It's the original single track trail that they installed. The skill level on it was a little bit harder than what they wanted, and with the level of use at the park, they're hoping to improve that trail tread to make it a little more user friendly for more of a novice skill level. So it's a pretty nice project that they're proposing there. Also reviewed and approved 2 rehabs of the single track trail off of Janet Road in between there and Bodecker. There are a couple reroutes, some of the steeper fall lines on the trails, all for sustainability. So all this, the trail work and funding is all done by Canva. So did a field review and all 3 of these projects are good to go. Berkey Trail, nothing new to report. As far as ATV snowmobile trails, we repaired the bridge on 31 over Mosquito Brook. We went out and backfilled underneath the footings with some quickcrete, and hopefully we can stabilize that. We've got bid packets out for 3 trail rehab projects. Those are due next week on the 10th. And additionally, we did receive an additional funding of $4,500 from the state for gravel and some beaver control on the Tuscobia. So we've got an invoice on that. Worked with the Alliance and the state on that, and the Alliance is going to do the work with that additional funding on the trail with the volunteers. So other than that, also I bid out the Berkey Ridge hay again. We got 1 bid in for $675 to lease that field for the remainder of the year for haying. So it's a little bit less than what we got last year, but nobody has to pay to mow it out there, so it's still a positive.
Okay.
So that's all I have.
I just had a couple questions on the Good Neighbor Authority contract. Does that come to this committee for approval, or is that something that you and Mr. Hoff handle?
I've been doing it internally.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we approved the program initially, and so with the contracts, I've just been approving them.
Okay. The Mosquito Brook, do we have an option or a chance to get reimbursed for our expense from the dam owner?
I don't know. I mean, what we have in on it, it's pretty minimal. I mean, we went out there with 5 bags of quickcrete and 3-4 hours of staff time. So
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure where we're at with who's liable on that dam yet. So
Okay.
the Berkey Bridge is probably going to be the bigger expense, to get that repaired. And I'm not entirely, I haven't circled back to check on that one yet, but Berkey was taking a look at their options on that one. So.
All right. Any other questions? Any questions for the forester on this report? Okay, DNR report.
So Roy's on vacation again this week, so I'm filling in for him, but nothing major to report. We finished our fiscal year 20 county forest goals, about 238 hours in excess of the minimum there, so we meet our goal there. We started on our fiscal year 21 goals now again. The only thing that we're looking at for maybe an opportunity this year is going into July, we were close to 2.5 inches below annual average precip here in Hayward. So something we might have an opportunity to do this year is if you got any road projects or anything like that. We haven't been able to do any of those summer little road rehab projects with dozers that we have in the past since we've been way over. So might be an opportunity this year.
Okay, any questions on the DNR report? Okay. I guess, Jay, you're up on your watercraft decontamination ordinance.
Yeah, so the Watercraft Decontamination Ordinance was kind of forwarded on to me from Whitefish Lake Association as well as from the town of Sand Lake, asking the county to kind of look at adopting a countywide decontamination ordinance. This decontamination ordinance is specifically for kind of cleaning your boat of aquatic invasive species after you would, either before and after you would leave a body of water. Currently, it's kind of just as for information discussion purposes at this point. Anytime we look at adopting a countywide ordinance, we want to make sure that we're doing everything correctly and legally. When Washburn County did this, it took them 2 years to finally adopt a decontamination ordinance. I then believe Burnett County kind of just hopped on board with Washburn County at that time and kind of piggybacked on that adoption process. So there are only 2 counties in all the state of Wisconsin right now, Washburn and Burnett, that have a countywide decontamination ordinance. Specifically speaking from a zoning and conservation administrator perspective, I think this is a great ordinance. It definitely see a need for decontamination sites to potentially stop the spread of AIS. However, it becomes a little bit difficult when you talk about a countywide ordinance because you do want all bodies of water to be on board with this. And right now, it just seems like it's something coming from Whitefish Lake Association. So if there's something where Sawyer County Lake Forum can get a hold of and we can mold this into more of a countywide level, I think that's the route we should potentially look at going. At a short term, though, if the town of Sand Lake has passed a local ordinance and have contracted with the sheriff's department for the enforcement aspect of it, the town could have a local ordinance in place where the county at that point really doesn't have to take any position. This can each be done by each individual township. Now, if you get 5 or 6 townships that all want some type of local ordinance, well then, yeah, at that point, maybe it makes sense to do it as a countywide adoption process. But at this point, I think it's still in the working stages for a countywide aspect, and I guess it would be something that, if the town wants to pursue it, that's great. If we get more of a need coming from Sawyer County Lakes Forum or other lake associations, then we can look at picking this back up. Also, personally, I don't have time to draft any said ordinance at this point. I mean, this would be something that I wouldn't be really even able to tackle until winter as a countywide ordinance. But if there's additional information or ordinances that are already available out there that we can utilize, I'd be looking for help in drafting those said ordinances as well. And if you want to comment at all as well, and we're just in information discussion aspects of this conversation.
So this ordinance would prohibit or require people to clean their boats when they leave the water, enter the water.
I believe it would just be, you're already supposed to have a clean boat when you're entering the water.
Okay.
It would be when you're leaving the waters, you're supposed to decontaminate then at that point. That way, if we have more of these decontamination sites, when you're actually leaving a body of water, that's where you decontaminate. That when you enter a new body of water, you'd already have a clean vessel.
So would the county be required to build decontamination sites?
These are all great questions that I do not have the answers to right
Okay. And then the sheriff would enforce these? If somebody saw a guy a person leaving the lake and just pull them down the road, you call the sheriff, and
That would be my understanding. That is kind of what the draft ordinance is, as well as the one that was adopted by Washburn County, is that the sheriff's department has the actual enforcement on whether or not to pursue citations or tickets for those that are not using the decontamination site. Again, these decontamination sites, it's only, per the ordinance that Washburn County used, it's only required when there's a decontamination site at that launch, and if all supplies are readily available and full at that launch. And if someone then had skipped the decontamination process, they could be liable for said citations at that point. That's a little bit of the background of it. The decontamination of the site itself, I do have some other information. We can put this back on the agenda for additional information in months to come. But I do have kind of a PowerPoint presentation that was put together by Washburn County. They looked at having each of these decontamination sites was about $763. for signage, a long-handled soft brush, long-handled weed grabber, goggles or eye protection, a 1 gallon sprayer, 5 gallon bucket, 1 gallon of household bleach, and then just other hardware screws and plywoods for the actual signage and mounting of those devices. Basically, you would take kind of 2 tablespoons of bleach to 1 gallon of water and actually scrub down the boat, and that would actually then end up killing through these committees, which I said we can do at that point. But for me to draft a countywide decontamination ordinance, I just don't have time right now to do that.
All right, is that something Whitefish would want to run through the Sawyer County Lakes Association?
Actually, what I have been working on is trying to contact all the lake associations that I have emails for, and just getting started on that and trying to rally them to have the interest, because I feel if one lake gets it and the fishermen take their boats from lake to lake, we're gonna all have it.
Right.
And then we're gonna just see the deterioration of our lakes, and nobody wants that.
No.
Right.
So we are prepped and ready to put up a decontamination station at our boat launch. We have one. The board is on board for us. I talked to Sand Lake. I've talked to one of their board members, and she is contacting the president of theirs, so they will take it to their next meeting. And again, I will get as many emails out to the lake associations that I can. If there's another avenue that I need to pursue, I'd be glad to do it.
Have you been in contact with Phil Neese?
Not that I know of.
Okay, now I think he'd be a good source because he stick handled the wakeboard ordinances through a number of different towns.
Okay. Can I get that?
NIES, I think it's okay. Any more discussion on the watercraft decontamination? Okay. Jay, you want to give us a quick update on the?
Yeah, as far, we've still been crazy busy. June was a very busy month as well for the zoning conservation department. Don't see any signs of slowing down on the construction aspect. Field staff has been nonstop. We've been back full staffed in office since late April, to be honest, just because of the tremendous workload that we've kind of experienced. As far as year-to-date permits, soil test and sanitary permits are actually up from last year. Land use permits are just 14 behind from where we were last year. But I know myself and Pat Brown, we probably have about 20 to 30 sitting on our desk right now waiting to get issued because, again, we've just been swamped. Again, you would have asked me, late March after the stock market crashed, as well as the pandemic was just firing up, how is zoning and conservation going to look this year? I would have said this is not going to be a good year. The economy is going to tank. People are going to be scared about building because of the pandemic, and it's actually almost the opposite in that people with time on their hands right now are finally doing those projects that they've been procrastinating. So we have not seen any type of slowdown at all.
Okay, any questions or comments for Jay? All right, USDA report. I don't see any USDA representative here. We'll send them another email. And LCO report. Anything on LCO? LCO conservation. Okay. I guess that's it. Any other topics or discussion? Anything anybody wants to bring up? If not, we're adjourned.